الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. Brothers, sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the weekly Ministry of Dawah talk. Inshallah, today we'll be discussing about are you feeling the pinch. If you go out, you see it's a financial crisis out there, it's a credit crunch. Just today we was going out to print some flyers for the Ministry of Dawah to give some to some brothers, and we thought it was going to be 4p a photocopy. It was about, one shop said 25p per photocopy, another shop was like 15p per photocopy. The petrol price is about £1.3 a litre now, yeah? It's a proper, people can't even feed themselves out there. It's really junk. It's a proper credit crunch out there. So the brother will be explaining today on how Islam can deal with this credit crunch and the financial issues what's happening around the world. Brother Jamaluddin, inshallah, will go into more deeply in this subject.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man ittaba'ahu bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin. I begin in the name of Allah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, and I bear witness there is none worthy of worship except He subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his last and final messenger. As the brothers introduced, today's circle is entitled Are You Feeling the Pinch? Yeah, and it's about the issue of the credit crunch, the financial crisis, whatever term you want to use for it. And what we will find is if a lot of us, if we maybe look back a year or 2 years ago, you'll find people thought the situation was good. Economically, things were going okay. We weren't suffering. Yeah, people were getting their new iPods, they were getting their new trainers, they're going on holiday. And when you ask them, how are you paying for this? Let's say I put it on my credit card. Yeah, I'm doing all right, I put it on my credit card. Even you see every person you hear about, they've got a new house. And sometimes you ask, how long did it take you to save up to get this new house? They said, I didn't need to save up. I got one of these 100% mortgages. So you don't even need to have savings. You go down to the bank and they're practically throwing the mortgage in your face. So it was a really good, or what people thought was a really good economic situation. And now we find it's a really difficult situation, as the brother mentioned. Yeah, people are going through hard times. And we'll even find that you could say really that we've moved from a situation where people were on easy street, and they were having times which were good, and now they moved to broke down alley. That's the situation we've gone to now, where the life was high, life was good, and now it's become tough. We'll find that the people who before, they were going to expensive restaurants, they were getting steaks, they were getting fine meals, they were getting lobster, yeah, paying out hundreds of pounds a time. Now those same people are going to Burger King, they're going to McDonald's. Yeah, they can't even get filet of fish, they have to get a veggie burger. This is how tough the situation's become. Even now you'll find at McDonald's, there are more people trying to get jobs flipping burgers than there are people trying to buy burgers. Why you find actually they did a report, McDonald's said, look, we're getting 2,200 applications for jobs every single day. So for every job that's out there, there are hundreds of people trying to get that job, trying to survive in this tough economic circumstances. Why? Because this credit crunch, this financial crisis that took place. I mean, just to give my own example, I used to always get this Tesco's baguettes for lunchtime. When I'm at work, don't have that long, so you have to go out and get a sandwich. And I used to get this baguette, it's £2. You get a baguette, tuna and sweet corn, and that used to be quite sufficient. I used to get that, used to eat that, I feel full. Then I noticed about a year ago, they started cutting the ends off the baguette. So before I've even got it, the ends have gone off the baguette. I don't know what they were doing with them, but they decided, look, times are tough. We're going to have to cut the ends off the baguette, and we're going to keep the price at the same level. So that I'm still paying the same amount of money, but I'm getting less sandwich for my money. Now, you find even the baguette is shrunk. It's become skinny. It's a skinny baguette. I look at that baguette, I have to say, sometimes I think maybe I should be feeding it food rather than eating it, because it looks so pathetic and miserable. So we see what's happened. Everyone's having to feel the pinch. Even the Mars bar, they had to admit, Mars admitted they reduced the weight and size of the Mars bar. So they actually brought it down from 65 grams to 50 grams. So everyone's facing the consequences. Yeah, so some of these things, they make us laugh, they joke, but there's a lot of serious consequence. Obviously, we see people are losing their jobs. So we need to understand, why is this taking place? What's happened to the economy? Why is this financial crisis taking place? And most important of all, what does Islam say about the situation? What should we as Muslims understand? How is this problem? Because every problem we face in life, we want to know, how does Islam solve this issue? That should be a natural question we as asked as Muslims. You open the newspaper, you see an issue in the newspaper, you should think, what does Islam say about this matter? That should be the natural way we as Muslims we think. So we see that when we look at this crisis, this is what they call a financial crisis. So many of the names you see, big banks, big companies having problems, is to do with the financial industry. It's to do with the way that the banks operate. And this has had a big impact on the world. Even you see one of the biggest companies in the world, General Motors, is a massive company, one of the biggest companies in the world producing cars. They went bankrupt. They themselves, they ran out of money, and they had to go to the government in America and they had to say, look, you need to bail us out. You need to give us money to actually sustain our company. Otherwise we're going to fail, and 3 million people depend on that company. So you imagine a company of that size, and still, because of this economic crisis, they couldn't survive. They needed help. So if that's the case for such a big company, what's the case of an average person like you and me? We don't have a few billion in our back pocket to bail us out when we've got troubles. So why is this economic crisis taking place? And we'll see it relates to the way that the banking industry works. And as I mentioned, and I'll go back to in a little while, it's also to do with the way that people buy and sell. Yeah, especially when it comes to issues like credit card. Yeah, and getting things effectively, getting it on loan. And what we found is that the banks, they started to encourage people to go out and get loans, to get mortgages. Yeah, as we know, that's what banks do. They try and sell people a mortgage. So you give them some loan, or you give them a deposit, then they will say, okay, we'll give you this amount of money, we'll give you 100,000, 200,000, you've got to pay it back to us. And obviously, you have to pay it back with interest over time, maybe over 20 years, over 25 years. And what we found, the banks, they started to give a lot of these loans out. Not just here in Britain, but in America as well. And they would give these loans to anybody who was walking in the door. Yeah, they even had a specific term for it. They called these ninja loans. Yeah, a ninja loan. And you may ask, why? Is it a loan that creeps into your house at night? Yeah, and it's wearing black. That's not why it was a ninja loan. It was a ninja loan because it was for people who had no income, no job, and no assets. Yeah, so people who didn't even have the money to pay back, the banks were still giving them money. So there's one very amazing example in California. There was one bank, a man came, he works as a janitor. So he's working in a building, he takes care of the building. Yeah, it's not a very high paid job. His wife, she was a cleaner. Yeah, so again, these are not people who are in the highest echelons, the highest level of society. And the bank gave them a mortgage of $420,000. $420,000. And I'm not saying that they saved up that 20 years of saving, they had the money. We're talking about people getting this without any savings at all. And people who are low paid. So the banks were giving these loans out to people. Now, what happens when you go to somebody and you sell them a house for $420,000 and they're making maybe $20,000 a year, combined income? Yeah? What happens when the economy starts to go rough and there's problems? They won't be able to pay for the house anymore. The house will collapse, i.e. their ownership of the house, the bank will take it back from them. So what we found is that this didn't happen to just this one couple or a few people here and there. This happened to thousands of people across America. And even you found it even in the UK as well. And this is what they called subprime mortgages. Subprime mortgages. Where the people really are struggling to make ends meet, but the bank is still saying, here, don't worry, we'll give you this money. So you may ask, why would a bank give money to someone who can't pay it back? Because I wouldn't give money to someone who can't pay me back. Yeah, if someone comes to me, I don't think he can pay me back, I'm not going to give him 500. Unless I'm being generous, I want to say I'll give him a loan. Yeah, I'm not bothered. But banks are not generous people. Yeah, banks are, in fact, some of the most greedy and crafty people. So why would they give someone this amount of money when that person is going to struggle to pay back? The reason why is because what these banks would do is they would get the loans of all of these people together, Yeah? So myself, brother here, brother Ahmed, brother Abdullah, we've gone to the bank and we've said, okay, I'm going to borrow 100,000,